Kevin Nealon with us, and you know we all watched the 40th anniversary special of SNL last week, and I was just curious because they had a whole, you saw auditions from all the cast members, but I wanted to know what was that like for you the first time you auditioned for Lorne Michaels?
Well, my audition, well, I was a stand-up comic. I wasn't in the groundlings like a lot of these people or Second City, so I was in a sketch comic. I didn't do impressions or characters. So Dana Carvey was a friend of mine. He recommended me because they were still looking for one more cast member. And so I figured, okay, I'll go, but I'll never get it because, you know, I don't do that stuff. You know, I'm a stand-up comic. And so I wasn't nervous at all. And I'm on the plane flying into New York thinking maybe it'll just be me and a couple other people. But just like Hollywood, it's full, everybody on the plane is like going there to do an audition, you know? Even the pilot comes out of the cockpit, hey, you guys think this is funny for my audition? and I get there and I'm not nervous at all because I'll know I'll never get it, you know? I'm not going to get it. I'm just getting a free vacation to New York, you know?
And you found love.
It's all about getting free vacations today. And everybody else is pacing, they're nervous, you know, and then they call me in and I go into Studio 8H and I'm doing my my shtick in front of the, you know, Lorne Michaels and a few of the other people that were selected for the show. And then I leave and I go back to LA, and 2 weeks later Lorne Michaels sitting in front of me telling me about the show and how he'd like to hire me, and I said, well, let me think about it over the weekend.
You did? Yeah, you really
I was
did?
trying to play coy with him, you know. He said, all right, well, you think about it over the weekend and we'll see you in New York on Monday.
Okay.
Maybe I'll see you then.
But
Wow,
of all
what
the, from Weekend Update to Mr. Subliminal, it's the Hans and Franz thing. That's, by the way, making the comeback now with the commercials as well.
Yeah, let me tell you, they're fantastic. These two guys, they bodybuilded. Hear me now and believe me later. If you took your belt off, Mac, you would cause a flavalanche.
Where did it come from? I mean, obviously we know where, but how did it start?
Well, Dana Carvey, Dennis Miller, and I were on tour after the first season in the summer. And I was in a hotel room in Des Moines, Iowa, watching Arnold Schwarzenegger in some interview show, much like this one. and I watched it with Dana, and we started mimicking him after the show for the rest of the tour. And we thought, we got to come up with characters like his, you know, with his voice and stuff. So I used to live in Germany, and I knew a lot about Austria and stuff. And so, you know, we came up with these two characters, and basically we were making fun of Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then we heard he wanted to come on and be in the show with Hans and Franz, and we couldn't believe it because we thought, doesn't he know we're making fun of him? Is he that dumb? And then we figured he's coming on the show to kill us. So that day arrives and they get us and they say, Arnold's in the dressing room, he wants to talk to you guys right away. And we were like two kids going to the principal's office. We're blaming each other. You came up with it, no I didn't, you did. I said no gap between the teeth, I said no accent. And we get to the dressing room and his name's on the door, and his name is so long, part of it went onto the wall a little bit. You know? And we open up the door and it's full of cigar smoke, and we could barely see him sitting across the room, and in one hand he's got a cigar, and the other hand he's got the script we wrote for him. And I'll never forget this. He looks up through the cigar smoke to us and he goes, hello fellas, now how am I supposed to do the accent? So we went, woo!
Let's take a look. This is the commercial actually that makes such a resurgence.
Hey, look, it's the State Farm guy.
Yeah, and he's discount double checking.
Hans and Franz? Surprise.
Well, here's another surprise for you. Muzzle. Hear me now and believe me later. You pumped up our wallets with the discount double checking, so we want to repay the favor and palm you out.
You on the Super Bowl commercial? That's classic. Everybody knows that.
Tell us about you, because you have a web series now that you're doing, right?
I do, yeah. It's called Laugh Lessons with Kevin Nealon. It's on AOL. And it's teaching kids how to do comedy. Basically, about 4 years ago, Gary Shandling, the comedian, a friend of mine, was at my house. My son was about 4 at the time. And he was teaching my son pratfalls. So he'd take a pillow and he'd hit him behind the head. And he'd go, Gable, when I hit you with a pillow, pretend I hit you hard and fall. And that's a pratfall.
Yeah.
And I thought this would be a great idea for a show, like have an established comic each week teach different, like 6-year-olds the art of comedy and see if comedy can be taught or if you're born with it, and how you can use it to get through difficult situations in life. Wow. So, you know, I partnered up with Ellen DeGeneres, and we sold the show to AOL, and each week we've had different comics like Chelsea Handler, Adam Sandler, David Spade,
And Ellen, too.
Ellen.
And is there an age range for kids, or like 6 to 8, or is it?
Well, that's the interesting. We're trying to find out which kids were the funniest, you know. And we started with like 5-year-olds, and
Yeah.
it seemed a little, you know, not quite there. Then 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. So we think around 6 is good.
Is
a
a
good
good
age.
Develop their sense
As far as the comics, 35 to 42.
Yeah, right. We have a clip with you with Sarah Silverman trying to teach in the classroom.
Oh, this
so
is
let's take a look at that.
Like, one good thing about comedy is it's a good way to survive when people scare you or being mean. Like, one thing you can do, you don't have to be mean back, because I don't think there's ever a reason to be mean. You can agree. Like, say something mean about me.
You have the ugliest car.
I agree. It's the worst. You're smart.
Wait a minute, that's not how I expect. Oh, darn it. She's not mad at me. That shirt is the craziest color I've ever seen.
I know. I agree with that.
Well, thank you guys. Thanks for coming. And I hope you have a funny life. Or you can
But
just be
it's
a bad-
also okay if you're sad. Feelings are feelings. They're never wrong.
That's such a girl thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it right? Yeah, look good right there, buddy. Yeah, you just be happy. Yeah, don't worry about your feelings.
We were so hammered that day.
Well, you have a very busy schedule, as you can see. But
Well, I'm very busy.
Well, you are very busy, but you're also doing something really good. You're busy also because you're doing something about AFib, which explain first of all what AFib is, and then tell us what you're.
Well, this is American Heart Month. So you may not know this, but I have a lot in common with a race car driver, a professional race car driver, and also with a legendary golfer, Arnold Palmer. And that's all that we were both of us, all of us.
all three of you?
Yeah, we were at risk of a blood clot. And mine was from AFib.
And what is AFib? Explain. what
AFib
that
is an irregular heartbeat.
Okay.
That could lead to a stroke from blood clot. But so I first noticed this about 13 years ago. I was in Mexico with my then girlfriend, now wife, and she's about 18 years younger than me. So I was trying to impress upon her how active I was and fit.
Of course you were. Of course
Yeah.
you were.
And that's not her. But, and I'm running down the beach, you know, I'm playing golf, I'm jumping in the pool, and I got out of the pool, and it was really humid and hot in Mexico, and my heart started taking off. You know, it was like, I thought, what's going on? I can't have a
you were
heart
with
attack.
her.
Yeah, she's gonna call home the old man had a heart attack. But it was nothing to do with that. It was just AFib, irregular heartbeat. So I ended up in a Mexican hospital, which was my dream. You know. And they, they tried to convert it back, and then I went back to LA. I saw my doctor, and what he did was he put me on a blood thinner.
Right.
But it was called warfarin, which didn't really mesh with my schedule because you had to do a lot of dietary restrictions and blood monitoring, and I was traveling a lot. So he put me on a different medication that worked better. But I always tell people, see a doctor and find out what's best for them.
Is this something you have from birth that you just realized, or is this something that people grow into as an adult?
What do I look like, a doctor to you?